Hey there, thank you so much for joining us for the Big Time Talker Podcast. I'm Burke Allen, and you hear a little noise in the background. That's because we're right in the middle of the San Diego Convention Center in the Podcast Pavilion for the American Library Association's annual conference and exhibition. Tens of thousands of folks are here. We're all about books, and we have the incredible honor to interview some of the authors and speakers who are here with us. Speaking of speakers, thank you to SpeakerMatch.com, our show sponsor. SpeakerMatch is the world's largest online virtual speakers bureau. If you're a speaker, maybe you're an author who likes to go out and do author talks, check out SpeakerMatch.com. And if you're a meeting planner, you can find lots of great speakers at Speaker Match. Thanks to the Headline Books and our friends at Zoom into Books for tagging us up with a lot of award-winning authors like this guest, Nina Kelly, who's a Mom's Choice Award winner. She writes kids' books, and the first one was The Honeybee Tree House. Originally from Nolens, now in North Carolina, but today in lovely San Diego. Nina Kelly, welcome to the broadcast booth.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here.
What made you decide to write books for little people?
Well, we go through a journey in life.
Right.
I spent my younger days helping with elderly, and then my professional days were in the medical world, organ donation, transplantation, death and dying. And so it's just a perfect transition to move to the young people. So I'm looking to help young people. They're looking for good role models, good stories, good experiences. That's what life is about.
What age group do you write for?
These are from 6 to 9.
Is it tough as a grown-up, as a person with a certain age?
As an elder?
I'm not going to say any of that. I'm right there with you. Well, compared to 6 to 9-year-olds, you've got to somehow put yourself in that mindset. Isn't that tough to do?
No, because I think my nature, I have a very playful spirit. So it's difficult to write, but it's challenging because I keep thinking about what would inspire me, what would I like to do, and so that's kind of narrowed it down.
I always wonder when I talk to folks who write children's books, do you have like a little person focus group? You know, like do you get the advanced copies of the books out to the little kids to see what they have to say? Have you ever done that before?
You know, this very first book I wrote, I had 3 little grandchildren, and so I wrote the book, and they go, "Oh, Mimi, what about this and what about that?" And yes, so they were great. They inspired me quite a bit.
Yeah, grandkid beta testers.
I love it. That's great.
So the first book that you did, you've got 3 now, is that right?
I have 3 children's books, yes, and they're all been bestsellers and Mother Choice Awards, yes.
How about that? And so the first one's about a little girl who learns to really appreciate one of my favorite things, you know, outdoors, great outdoors for everything that's there, and then some honeybees come into the picture. So you paint the picture from there.
Okay, the picture is she goes to visit her grandmother, and her grandmother has a very unusual house. It's a tree house, and so her room is in a tree house. And Abby is the main character. Abby loved her grandmother's flowers, but when she went to go look at the flowers, there were all these bees there. Became very frightened of the bees, and grandmother said, "No, don't worry about that." So the whole story is appreciation of the bees. And the story tells about why we need bees, how important bees are to our life. So that's the whole theme of the story, and what's their part in helping to save bees.
We're talking about books, specifically kids' books, with award-winning best-selling author Nina Kelly. Her first book we just talked about is this Honeybee Treehouse, but then it goes on. Did you consider having the same characters as a through line in all of them? Was that something that you set out to do, and you took a different tact, or do each of these books stand independently? If somebody picks up a Nina Kelly book, they need to read them all?
Well, they're all different, and the Honeybee Treehouse will turn into a series. So I'm working on the second one of the Honeybee.
Oh, is that right? So you can
Yes.
go back and revisit the little girl.
And see what they become activists. So they become activists on what's the next step. So yes, that's that. And then, but the second book is totally different. The second book, which I don't know if you know.
Look at that. Look at you, Jack, cute little puppy dog.
No, that's my granddaughter.
Athena the Brave.
Yes.
Tell me about Athena the Brave.
Well, Athena the Brave there's a backstory about Athena. And
Okay.
Athena is, I'm from New Orleans.
Right.
And we have a a one and only dog parade in Margall, and the whole purpose of this dog is called Brutus, and they raise money for shelter dogs.
Okay.
So Athena was the queen of Brutus, and we had a blast because the dogs have their own floats, and when you think about morons and Margall, but it's a walking parade strictly for dogs, and only dogs can participate.
I had no idea that was a thing.
Oh,
How cool
yeah.
is that?
Oh, it's really wonderful. And they've raised a lot of money for dogs. So because she was the queen, and she takes her queenhood quite seriously.
As well she should.
Yes. And that had kind of inspired me, like, well, okay, Athena can be a teacher. So this book about Athena the Brave, is all about the power of words and how important kindness is. And so that's her first lesson that she gives out to the public.
And you got a nice blurb on the back from the guy who's the president founding member of the crew of Barkus there in New Orleans. So for our Big Easy friends, big accolades from J. Gregory Curtis on this book, who says that Nina's Athena the Brave is a great illustration of bravery, more importantly, how true friendships evolve. Now, he used the word illustration, so I want to ask you about your illustrator. You have the same guy who's done it in all three of these books, or let's see, it is Irma Edwards.
Yes.
Now, tell me how you pick an illustrator for a children's book, because I'm assuming that in your mind's eye you have a vision of how you want these things to look. So how do you find the right one?
Well, Herma and I also have a backstory. Herma was a designer, a fashion designer. And then she became an artist, well, you are an artist if you're a fashion designer.
Well, sure.
Yes. So I knew her for quite some time. And we sat down and we shared a meal together, and I came with my ideas, and the rest is history. That's where we are with that.
Do you, when you collaborate with somebody like that, you're both creatives.
Yes.
And the vision that you have may not line up with your illustrator. How do you navigate that journey? I mean, I'm sure it's very difficult to go back and say, this is not at all what I wanted.
That's why Athena's book is about the power of words and kindness. Because guess what? People have different personalities. So you come with your image of what you think you want. The illustrator has their thoughts of what they want. And now you have to learn how to do that dance. How do you get the dance done where everybody comes together and presents a wonderful creation?
It's all about how you say things.
It's all about how you say things.
My mama used to say you get a lot more, you attract a lot more with honey and sugar than you can do the other way.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so now this new book, may I reach across the broadcast counter here? So now we have Athena, Tudor, and the Eagle, a Mom's Choice Award winner again, and tell me about the new book.
Well, the new book takes place in North Carolina.
Okay.
Obviously, because I moved here. And North Carolina is quite different from New Orleans.
Every place is quite different than New Orleans. Every place.
You got that one right. And but anyway, so Athena goes out into the woods, and it's a story about facing your fears.
Okay.
And so Athena obviously is the main character again. And she goes out there and discovers that the world is quite big. She's just a 2-pound dog with a 100-pound personality. See? But
as many little dogs do, right?
Exactly. So that's what that story's about. It's the other having the courage to face your fears and what happens on the other side of that.
You work in some messages into these books. Is there a balancing act between working in those lessons and still making it fun to read your kids?
Yes, it is. I mean, this is, when you start out writing, you think, oh boy, this is going to be so easy. Wrong answer. Unless you're a seasoned person. It takes time.
Sure.
It's like bring up New Orleans again. It's tempo. It's time and tempo. It's like music,
Right.
Time and tempo.
Right.
Same thing with writing. It's not a one and done.
Do you sit down and say, when it's time to write, and say, okay, I'm gonna sit at this laptop, sit at this computer until I get X number of pages done, or I'm gonna write 100 words or 1,000 words, or I'm not getting up, or are you the type of author that the inspiration has to be there?
I'm the second. I am the inspiration. because mine comes through walking in the park or out in the woods or whatever, spending time. Really, I love nature, and so and that's where my thoughts come. And then I take my thoughts and I place them down, and then I just think again, our dream. I'm really big on dreams. See, so we all have our process, but that's mine. And then because I'm working on another now, and I'm going, no, this is not right. But I'm working in my head, and then once I know what the theme is going to be, then I can sit down and start.
You've got thousands, tens of thousands of book people all around you here in San Diego.
Yes.
You know, as we do this podcast, we're in the podcast pavilion at the American Library Association event. These are people who are readers, they're librarians, they're authors. I'm sure there's someone listening right now that in the back of their mind, they think, I've got a book. I don't know what to do. What's the first thing? What advice would you give someone who is a prospective author?
First advice I would give, write something new on purpose. It's not new under the sun. Write something you're excited about, that you're passionate about. And you know the story better than you do. See? Even if it's creative fiction, that spark came from me.
Right.
That would be my write what you know, have fun with it, and then play with it. And then you fine tune. It's like when we make a gumbo in New Orleans. You know, it takes many ingredients to make a great gumbo. So it takes a lot of ingredients to get the right picture.
What's your favorite part of the being an author process? What do you like the most?
Oh, I like it once the process is finished.
Once you're done,
You have a book, you go, oh, I'm so excited about this.
Well, hey, look, if it were easy, everyone would do it, right?
Exactly, yeah. It's not, it's a challenge. Yeah, it's a learning curve, for sure.
What's the toughest part of being an author? The one thing you could assign it to somebody else and say, I never want to do that again, what would that be?
I think for me, the toughest part is once you think you're at the finish line, let it go. Because just let it go. Let it go and have its own life.
And there are lots of writers that go back and they rewrite and never gets done.
Yeah, I have a doctorate in mythology, and one of the things I learned was if you think you're going to get the dissertation 100% perfect, you will never finish that dissertation. You just won't. So you have to, you do the best you can, and then after that, give it to the universe.
You can't get out the door. It's better to get something out that's 90% perfect and get it out the door than struggle for that 100% and never get it just right.
It is, and everything, and you grow and you learn. That's part of life. So.
I'm sure there's a perfectionist listening right now that just wants to reach into their phone and strangle his phone as they listen to the podcast.
What are you talking about?
Stop it! Just stop it.
Right.
All right, so Nina Kelly has written these books. They're for kids, but the purchaser is going to be a mom or a dad or a grandma or a grandpa, or maybe you've just got some kids in your life for whatever reason that was special to you. What would you tell those prospective kids' book purchasers? Why these? Because there's a lot of them out there.
There are a lot of them out there. I would say that these particular books, they give good lessons, good life lessons. That would be my take on this. And I would say in this day and time, we need some good role models. We need some good people that can show us. Every person's a leader in their own perspective.
Right.
So that's why I kind of think these books go, yeah, I can do this. They encourage you. They inspire you. That's what I would say.
I like that. We all need a little more encouragement and inspiration in our lives. Nina Kelly is there to provide it with her books. And the first one in the series is the Honey Bee Tree House. And you got a couple of Athena books, Athena the Brave and Athena Tudor and the Eagle. And they're available, I would assume, wherever great books are sold for kids. Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com.
Yes.
Can we come to your house in North Carolina and get them out of the trunk of the car?
Yes, you may. Yes, you can. And local bookstores. I have many local bookstores.
Got to support those independent booksellers.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Well, absolutely. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you. It's been fun.
That's our guest, Nina Kelly.
Yeah.
an award-winning, multi-award-winning children's book author, as we broadcast live in beautiful San Diego, California, the American Library Association's annual conference and exhibition. Thank you, SpeakerMatch.com, for making it all possible. We have brand new episodes of the Big Time Talker podcast available every Tuesday at Spotify, iHeartMedia, wherever you download your podcast. Thanks to Headline Books and Zoom Into Books. For the whole staff here at the ALA, I'm Burke Allen, live in San Diego for the Big Time Talker podcast. Check out Nina Kelly online, pick her books up, and wherever you go, whatever you do, make it a great day. Bye, everybody.